Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Brandon with Campbell Fitness, and today I'd like to talk about aspartame. Now, I've been noticing a lot of conversations as far as in my videos go on the comment section between you guys regarding aspartame and if it has any negative long-term health effects or not. And it's really cool that you guys take the time to have these discussions without me being involved, but I can only let that happen for so long, and it's time for me to go ahead and jump in and give you my opinion, as well as back it up with some research and give you some context on the research that's actually available. So for this, I want to say that I'm going to focus simply on aspartame as it relates to cancer. I'm not going to get into the other outrageous claims about it, and I stress the word outrageous here, as far as that it makes you retain fat on your lower stomach, as well as that it makes you crave high sugar foods or refined carbohydrates. If you're one of the people who believe that it does these things, my advice to you, first of all, would probably be stop watching Dr. Oz or stop reading Dr. Mercola's books. I really like to leave those two guys out of it. Although knowing some of you and knowing some of the conversations we've had in the past, I'm assuming some will bring up those two individuals. And believe me when I say, I'm so excited to talk to you about that again. Don't really seem to get anywhere with you guys. As far as this goes, however, let's talk about aspartame and what it is. It's an artificial sweetener. Most of us know it from diet soft drinks, although it's another food additive put in a place in a lot of other food items in place of sugar to sweeten it, obviously. I think a good thing to point out is the fact that it's actually made from some compounds that are amino acids, so aspartic acid and phenylalanine. Again, I think this is important to point out because a lot of people just assume that it's this big fake ingredient, when in reality, if you're taking in a high protein diet, which I'm assuming a lot of you guys are, you're already consuming a lot of these compounds already. Now, another thing that I want to point out on this is the RDA, or the recommended daily allowance of aspartame. I almost screwed up there. I almost said aspartame. I'm going to take a breather. Been watching too many Chris Jones video. Shout out to POG. The RDA for aspartame is 3,700 milligrams for an average male. Now, in their estimation, an average male is 170 pounds. For most of us watching this, that qualifies as someone who does not lift. However, a 170-pound male, 3,700 milligrams. Now, that doesn't really do much for us, but to put that in context, that's roughly around 20 diet sodas a day. Now, I want to point this out because I want to reference a study that most people who are anti-aspartame hopefully reference. And I say hopefully only because I've gotten in a lot of discussions with people before on this subject. Most of them haven't done any research or read any studies. Instead, they just go off what they've heard or what they assume. So for those that are actually somewhat informed, typically it falls back to this study regarding testing on aspartame and rats. So, I don't know if you noticed this, but last time I checked, we weren't rats. We weren't rodents. We didn't have tails. We do like cheese, and some of us, our hygiene isn't so great, but we're not rodents. So that's kind of the first red flag here on this. Now, the second thing I want to tell you guys on this is they were giving these rats up to 4,000 milligrams per day. That's higher than the RDA for a 170-pound male. So again, comprehension skills, what's bigger, a small rat or a normal human? Unless you're dealing with Splinter from the Ninja Turtles, the clear answer here is a human. So they were giving these rats tremendous, outrageously high amounts of aspartame. Not to mention they were doing this since birth. That would be like you popping out of your mom's uterus, and before they cut the umbilical cord, they hand you a diet soda and say, here son, drink this, and then they slap your ass. It's not really realistic to assume that's really transferable to us being humans. Also, they were doing this each day, every day. So a very high intake, in fact, such a high intake it is outrageous to assume that any one person would ever do that, not to mention this was done on a daily occurrence. Again, we can kind of see how this plays a role. As for some of us with calories, let's say you eat over your maintenance for one day. What happens in the long run? Not much. It's only when you consistently do that over and over again that you start to see some ill effect of it. The same thing is transferable back to when we talk about aspartame. Not only are they consuming tremendously high amounts, in fact, over what they've even suggested for a human, but they're doing this consistently since birth. It's only really logical to assume something's probably not right here, and there are going to be issues because of this. So as far as aspartame goes and it being linked to cancer in humans, there's just not enough research to point out there that says that it does. So for those of you out there that are still anti-aspartame despite what I just said, do yourself a favor. Don't consume it, but don't tell the person who wants to drink a diet soda here and there that it's bad for them, because in reality, there's no proof behind it. Either way, you guys, I appreciate you watching, and as always, stay big.